Have you ever noticed that the hardest parts of aging aren't the things people warned you about? Everyone talks about the sore knees, the aching back, that stuff you expect. But once you hit your 70s, aging doesn't just show up in your joints or your memory. It sneaks in quietly. It changes how you live day to day, how you connect with others, and sometimes how you face yourself in the quiet moments. In this video, we're going to walk through 7 of the most difficult parts of growing older after 70. Not the ones you read in health brochures, not just the physical changes, but the deeper shifts, emotional, social, and personal, that no one really prepares you for. The kind that make you more patient, more tender, and sometimes silently wonder, am I the only one feeling this way? But what you're about to hear isn't meant to bring you down. It's here to give words to the feelings you may have carried but never quite said out loud. And once we name them, somehow, they get a little lighter. Because when we understand what we're facing, we no longer feel alone in it. So stick around till the end. Because as tough as these challenges might be, they also uncover a quiet kind of strength, a strength that only comes from the life you've lived and the years you've earned. 1. Your body isn't the same, and for the first time, you really feel it. There's a moment, sometimes subtle, sometimes sharp, when you realize your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. Maybe it's when you bend down to pick something up and feel that small twinge. Or when you get out of a chair and need a few seconds to find your balance again. After 70, those little moments start to add up. And suddenly, it's clear. This is the shift. It's not just slower legs or stiffer joints. It's that you need to try harder to feel steady. That standing on one leg to put on a sock takes real focus. That even a slightly wet floor makes you take smaller, more careful steps. George, 75, once told me, I used to shovel snow like it was nothing. Last winter, I had to sit down after 5 minutes. What broke his heart wasn't the weakness, it was losing that quiet trust in his own body, the one he'd counted on for decades. The tough part is the contrast. In your mind, you're still that quick, active person, but your body's no longer on the same page. That mismatch can make you feel sad, confused, even less confident. But here's the truth. Noticing that change doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. And you're not alone. Everyone who's reached this stage has been there. The key isn't to fight it, it's to adjust. Walk a little slower, stretch a little longer, and listen to your body more carefully. You're not giving up. You're adapting. And that quiet act of adapting day by day, with grace and persistence, isn't weakness. It's real strength. 2. Loss more than you ever expected. Maybe the hardest part of aging isn't what happens to your body. It's what starts happening around you. Old friends begin to fade away. A neighbor you used to wave to now lives in a nursing home. That person who used to call every week, they've stopped picking up. And sometimes loss comes in the deepest way possible, permanently. At first, it's 1 or 2 people. Then slowly, it becomes a part of life. But it never becomes normal. No matter how old you are, losing someone who was part of your daily world still stings. I'll never forget what Elaine, 79, told me about losing her best friend of 40 years. I've lost people before, she said. But this was different. She was my memory, the only person who remembered who I used to be. That kind of loss isn't just sadness. It's like a piece of you disappears with them. And it's not always death. Sometimes it's watching a loved one slip into memory loss. Sometimes it's emotional distance. Sometimes people just fade out of your life without explanation. The house grows quieter. The phone rings less. Your calendar has more blank days. What hurts isn't just loneliness. It's the uncertainty, never knowing when the next piece of bad news will come. Never knowing when the chair someone used to sit in will be empty forever. You might brace for it, but grief has its own way of showing up in a song, a scent, or an old photo tucked away in a drawer. And here's the truth. Sadness doesn't mean weakness. It means you loved. And if you've lived past 70, chances are you've lost more than most people can imagine. But you're still here, still remembering, still loving. And that is courage. 3. Feeling distant from the family you raised. This one creeps in slowly. You raised your kids, stood by them through everything. At one point, you were the most important person in their lives. And then one day there's distance. Maybe the calls become less frequent. Maybe every visit starts with, "This week's been crazy, sorry." Maybe the grandkids you once cradled now live in a digital world, more tuned into their screens than the stories you once told. It's not that they don't love you, and it's not that you've done anything wrong. Life just moves fast, but that doesn't make the ache any less real. For many people over 70, that quiet emotional distance hits the heart in ways words can't describe. What makes it hard to talk about is that it's wrapped in politeness. "We'll come visit soon. Work's just been insane lately." And you get it, you were once that busy too. You juggled work, raised kids, managed a household. But still, you remember what it felt like to be needed, to be asked for advice, to be part of the small, everyday moments that made up a family. Thomas, 82, once said, "I raised 3 kids, helped them buy houses, fixed their cars, babysat the grandkids. Now I'm lucky if I see them once a month." He wasn't bitter. He just said softly, "I used to be the center of their world. Now I feel like a footnote." The gap isn't always obvious. You don't bring it up, don't want to make anyone feel guilty. But it's there. In the look they give when they check their phones. In the dinners that feel too quiet. In the holidays where more and more chairs sit empty. But here's what you must remember. Your value hasn't faded. It hasn't disappeared. The world may rush forward, but your presence still matters even if no one says it out loud. You may never reclaim the closeness of the old days, but you can still build small bridges, a handwritten note, a photo in the mail, a simple thinking of you message. Not to cling, just to remind that you're still here, still caring, still watching from the sidelines. The greatest pain isn't being alone. It's feeling forgotten. But you are not invisible. You never were. For the familiar world slowly fades. At some point, maybe at 70, maybe earlier, you start to realize the world around you doesn't feel the same anymore. That little corner store you used to visit? Closed. The park where your grandkids once played? Replaced by high-rise buildings. The music on the radio? Different. The way people talk, the way they look at each other or don't has all changed. This isn't just nostalgia. It's a deeper kind of sadness. The grief of losing familiarity. The ache of realizing that the world you once knew has changed too fast. Margaret, 83, once told me, "Everywhere I go, I feel like a stranger in the very place I used to call home." That line has stuck with me because it captures a silent kind of loneliness that many older people feel but rarely say aloud. The change doesn't shout, it creeps. You go to the store and don't recognize the songs playing. You take a walk and no one says hello. Even the neighborhood you've lived in for 40 years is now filled with new faces, new languages, new cultures. Everything's shifting so quickly it feels impossible to keep up. The hardest part isn't that you dislike change or modern life. It's that your memories feel like they're being erased, one building, one app, one new slang word at a time. It's a silent kind of loss, but it cuts deep. Because when the world around you becomes unfamiliar, you start to feel like maybe you no longer belong in it. That your wisdom, your experience, your history no longer have a place. But one truth remains. Your presence still matters. The stories you carry still hold value. The life you've lived is still the foundation this world stands on, even if it moves too fast to notice. You can't turn back time, but you can preserve it through your stories, through the way you live, through the calm and kindness you pass down. Especially to the younger generation who sometimes need to be reminded that real connection doesn't come from speed, but from listening. If any of this resonates with you, leave a comment with the number 4 so I know you're walking this journey with me. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, now's a good time so you don't miss the next part. 5. The little things that suddenly feel exhausting. One of the quietest shocks of getting older is this. The small things you used to do without thinking suddenly take effort. Buttoning a shirt, tying a shoe, getting up from a low chair. It's not that you've forgotten how. It's that your body doesn't respond the way it used to. What once took a second now needs more time, more patience, more deep breaths. And the strange thing is you don't notice it right away, until one day you drop your keys and realize even bending down to pick them up isn't so simple anymore. or you carry in groceries, and your back tightens up in protest. These small moments begin to add up. Suddenly, even walking to the mailbox becomes something you plan for. Harold, 78, once told me, "I never thought grabbing the mail would be something I had to think about. Now I check the weather, decide what shoes to wear, and ask myself if I've already walked too much that day." Tasks that used to be automatic now drain your energy. And that wears on your mind, too. What's tough about this is, these small tasks used to represent independence. You drove yourself, cooked your meals, did your own laundry. Now, every time something slips even slightly out of your control, it feels like you're losing a piece of your freedom. But this is also where true resilience shows up. Using a cane to stay steady? That's not weakness. Asking for help? Not surrender. Taking a break? Not giving up. It means you respect your body. The same body that's carried you through decades of life. And that deserves kindness. Getting older doesn't take away your worth. It simply asks you to move more slowly, more carefully, more intentionally. And if sometimes that makes you feel sad or frustrated, that's okay. You have the right to feel that way. Just don't let those feelings steal your pride. Because every step, every adjustment, every task you still manage to do is a victory. And it's still your victory. 6. A calendar full of appointments and a mind full of worry. After 70, your calendar starts filling up, but not the way it used to. No more meetings, lunch dates, or family gatherings. Now it's doctor's appointments, lab tests, follow-ups, prescription pickups. Some weeks, the waiting room at the clinic feels more familiar than your own living room. But the hardest part isn't the time. It's the mental weight, keeping track of dates, remembering which doctor said what, trying to understand all the medical terms, and that constant, nagging question, what bad news might come next? Even if nothing serious is going on, your mind doesn't rest. Because each appointment is a reminder that your body needs watching, that there's always a number to monitor, and that you no longer feel the calm certainty about your health like you once did. Irene, 80, once told me, "I feel like I spend more time in waiting rooms than I do with my grandkids." She wasn't complaining. She was just tired, not just physically, but emotionally. Each visit comes with a new worry, a new prescription, another decision to make. You become a full-time assistant for your own body, jotting down symptoms, asking the right questions, taking notes, trying not to forget anything, and most of all, trying to understand it all, no matter how many medical terms get thrown at you. It's exhausting even when you're doing your best to stay strong, even when you're grateful to still be receiving care. Because the truth is, you're not just living. You're working hard to live well, inside a system that's often complex and overwhelming. And yet, you keep showing up. You take your meds. You follow the advice. You make it to every appointment. Not because you have to, but because you still want to live fully. You still want to be present. You still want to make the most of every moment you have left. If you've ever felt like Irene or you're living through it now, drop a comment with the number 6 so I know you're here. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today to realize they're not alone. 7. Feeling invisible in a world that's moving too fast. Maybe the most painful part of aging isn't the aches or the losses or the endless medical checkups. It's that moment when you realize the world doesn't really see you anymore. You're still here. You still think deeply. You still carry stories, wisdom, experience. But people walk right past you without a glance. Cashiers talk without making eye contact. Doctors answer in a rush. Young people assume you won't get it. Little by little, in 1,000 tiny stings, you start to wonder, do I even exist to them? Do I still matter? Bill, 77, once told me, it's not that people are mean. They're just busy. And one day, I realized I was no longer someone they noticed. He wasn't angry, just sad. Sad because he missed being asked for advice, missed being heard, missed the feeling of someone saying his name directly, not talking around him like he wasn't there. This feeling of fading into the background doesn't come from pride. It comes from something deeply human, the need to be acknowledged, to still belong in the world that's spinning around you. And maybe the scariest part? the silence. No one is pushing you aside on purpose. But the rush, the noise, the constant youthfulness of the world, it nudges you out of the picture without anyone even noticing. But here's the truth. You are not invisible. You have not been forgotten. What you carry, your calm, your patience, your lived experience is exactly what this world still needs. People may not realize it right away, but your value has never disappeared. And sometimes, to be seen, you have to speak up. Tell your story. Share your thoughts. Claim your place not to prove anything, but because you deserve to. You've lived. You've loved. You've contributed. And no one, not even time, can take that from you. Growing old isn't one single event. It's a series of quiet changes that only you can truly feel. One day, your body slows down. The phone doesn't ring as much. The places you once loved no longer look the same. Family and friends become fewer. And through all of it, you're still here. Still showing up. Still adapting little by little. Still existing in a world that may not always notice. All those private moments you've lived through, they're actually more universal than you think. The only difference is not enough people talk about them. But if you've nodded your head at any part of this, then you're not alone. Because there are others out there who feel exactly like you do. And there is still a community that will listen, understand, and walk with you. You've lived through more than younger people can even imagine. And you're still learning, still adjusting. That's not weakness. That's a quiet kind of strength, steady, resilient, and deeply honorable. So, out of the 7 truths we've shared, which one hit you the hardest? Which one made you pause, reflect, or maybe even breathe a little easier because someone finally said what you felt? Leave your thoughts in the comments, because your story might be the one that helps someone else feel a little less alone. And if you found this video meaningful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Your support helps us keep creating content that matters, content that brings comfort, connection, and hope. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.